Welcome to the Non-Essential Podcast. I'm Steve Gibson.
The podcast. That came out weird.
Yeah, it's because I was sitting here in my mind. I was about to say, welcome to the Non-Essential Podcast. Why the fuck do I go first? It's like, why do I go first every week? Because we're creatures of habit. But I'm the worst improv person, because improv, you're supposed to just like go with the flow, and I overthink.
I've noticed.
Yeah.
After doing the show for fucking however many years.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of times where I tee you up and you say no.
No. That's the first rule of improv.
Sometimes literally you'll just say no and shut it down.
Well, I always understood the first rule of improv is always say yes or no.
Yeah, the first rule of improv, quit while you're ahead. They don't like you that much. Get off the stage. Welcome to the Non-Essential Podcast. I am Ben Matlock. I'm the other one.
The other one. I think I'm the other one. Just because I go first doesn't not make me the other one.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Please continue building up my self-esteem. So when I rip this show from you in a hostile takeover, for the $20 in Patreon money we're due. Anyway,
I've said it for years. The reason I try to do that, and it's the same reason I cite you first on when I publish them, is that way if we ever get in legal trouble, I'll be like, look, this is Ben's boat. I'm just along for the ride.
I'm closer to the coast, so I could get away.
Yeah, it's hard to flee into international waters when you're in Ohio.
By my luck, I'll end up on a fucking crab boat in one of those goddamn pots. Just get pushed over when I think I'm being clever.
Not even like captured and put to work. They like throw you in with the crabs to like boil you.
Well, I guess this is bait now, and they just chuck me in there. So on this show, we tell each other stories. I'm not going to be very good at it today because I only got a couple hours of sleep. Maybe. Yeah. It was very off and on.
You say that, but it might be your best show ever because it's
usually when I'm operating fucked up, it helps.
Yeah, I was going to say operating on no sleep is pretty much the same thing as being drunk off your ass. So,
I mean, like your mind goes to fucking weird places. But it's kind of tough, like today when I didn't have a topic, so we're going to a Creepypasta again, and I
trying to follow along and read. Yeah, when you're tired, that can be.
Yeah, like you have to focus, and it's what I like about those episodes. It's kind of like a mini performance while you're trying to read it, but also trying to capture the emotion, and like you can't do that when you're chronically drowsy.
I think it'll be fun.
But before we get to that, today's show is brought to you by our sponsor. No, we don't have one.
Male Kim.
If your balls itch, scratch 'em.
Scratch 'em. Hey, if there's a ball itch product out there called Scratch'ems, I will happily shill for you.
When you think your balls itch and your fingers don't cut it, scratch 'em.
Scratch 'em.
I'm just imagining a horrible, like, Freddy Krueger glove.
Yeah, that's exactly what...
Like the worst fucking thing you could scratch your balls with.
Like, I just
recently
But
they call them something cute, like Scratch'ems.
Scratch'ems. I just recently saw one of those, like... It was somebody making fun of it, but it's a real product. And it's one of those, like, buy on TV for 3 easy installments. And it was like a gardening glove. It was just a real thick rubber glove, like what you'd wear on Breaking Bad if you're making meth. Except the fingertips in this rubber glove were, like, to a hard rubber point. And it was supposed to be so you could, like, dig in your garden, like, with just your hands.
So you could...
And it's like, it would never fucking work because you'd got no leverage behind those, like, pointy fingertips. But... Like, yeah, that's what I'm picturing as Scratch'ems, just like gloves with like claws on the end for your...
when you never want to itch again. Down there.
Look, my balls itch and I want a vasectomy, so here we go.
The wound itches like hell still, because it's infected, but what was there, no more. 7 out of 10 stars. Yeah, if you want to sponsor this show, I'm a good salesman. So today's story, it didn't have an author attached to it. It's called We Are Your Worst Nightmares.
Oh, I wrote that.
Good. Let me know if I fuck up.
I just decided at the spur of the moment I'm going to claim credit for any of these anonymous stories because they're anonymous. Yeah. You can't prove otherwise.
I'm gonna sue our own show for reading them without my permission.
Express written consent of the NFL.
Just the most fucking backwards ass way to try to drum up publicity for your own podcast.
Podcast host sues podcast co-host for copyright. Anyway, so we are something.
We are your worst nightmares from beyond the grave. No.
So this is a story about my clients.
Yeah. This is all water cooler talk. I don't have a lot of time to write this. Whatever's out there wants in. I can hear it banging on the door and moaning. It's gonna get in eventually. Maybe I can fight it off when it gets in. And so that's where you're at. That's already starting with a great not dilemma. Because you could block the door further, or you could get ready to fight it, but instead you're like, I got a blog.
Hold on out there. My internet's slow today.
It was about 3 days ago when people started to, disappear. The cops thought there was a serial killer on the loose, but I know better.
Okay. Yeah, I do too, because cops never fucking think it's a serial killer right away. No. It's always 10 years later, they're like, wait a minute.
Oh, wait, that's the same semen. I've tasted it.
This is the 13th letter from a guy saying, I'm a damn serial killer. Pay attention to me. Maybe it's a serial killer.
But I know better, and hopefully after reading this, you will too. Another creature is pounding at my house, drawn by the incessant wail of the first. Soon there will be too many. I'll be eaten alive if I'm lucky. If I'm not, I'll become one of them. I mean, you have no idea if that's that bad.
No, and if they're like zombies or whatever, the good news, buddy, is that you're going to be eaten alive and become one of them. It's not an either or.
You might be wondering if these are zombies, but you would be wrong. Well, okay. I mean, I'm not wrong. You set it up that way. Don't pass the buck, writer person. They move too fast, they think, and they talk. Which I'm pretty sure zombie movies have done. Which we talked about before, right? That's bullshit. Zombies should be kind of fucking stupid.
I don't know. I could see giving zombies kind of some cognitive ability. The thing is, they always make it.
They're just people.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, I haven't seen at least very few takes on zombies where they don't. It's they're still dead with what would be mortal wounds and their flesh is rotting. It's well, then physically, it's oh, these ones are fast. It's their tendons don't exist. How are they moving? You have to at least explain that.
But I mean, I think the threat of zombies is that they are slow and stupid, and how they
it's numbers game.
How they kill you is in mass, and that's the whole fucking point of the monster. Is they are a reflection of our society, and it's a horror exaggeration of it, but there's nothing individually that's threatening about them, but together a bunch of fucking carnivore fucking nitwits are very dangerous.
That you've got very little control to stop because they're already dead, so they're really hard to super dead them. You can, but
And the only way to survive is cooperation, and cooperation is the most difficult thing to pull off in any of those stories.
Yeah, even with the threat of zombies.
Every zombie story is it's two guys in a room against three zombies, and one of them, for no reason, will decide, I want all the gasoline to myself. Ha ha ha. And he'll shut that one in with the three zombies, but then realize, oh no, there's four zombies where I just stepped out to.
Right. And now the other guy's dead and can't help me.
And I just wrote the next Walking Dead episode. You're welcome.
Right. What a gas episode.
Hey, great title.
Yeah.
They can
anyway, not zombies. They're fast.
Yeah, these aren't zombies.
And...
They do what zombies do, but they can imitate your relatives or friends. One of the creatures outside is warbling in my dead wife's voice. Oh, how I wish I could shut them out.
So, did his wife used to warble?
Yeah, she warbled. Warbled and wobbled.
That's how he knew he was in love. They met and, like, from across the room, he's like, she's a 6 at best. And then she started warbling.
I felt the earth shake from your gruesome warble that I was in love.
Warble, 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 warble.
That's what a warble sounds like in my head.
Sexy.
That's my romance voice. Oh, how I wish I could shut them out. Forget everything. I remember my first encounter with these beasts. Before all this, I was working as a night watchman at the local bank. It was a fairly good job, good pay for easy hours, and there was next to no crime in my small town. Maybe a mugging or so, or a hunting permit violation. Those are two very
different things.
Yeah. You know, maybe a stabbing in an alleyway, but, you know.
Or a jaywalker, you know. Yeah.
Putting an aluminum can in the trash can when the recycle bin's right there. Or one time a guy got shot.
With a crossbow.
I was working that one night, dozing off in the manager's office. His chair was leather and very comfy. I slept for perhaps 2 hours. When I came to, I heard a scratching coming from near the front entrance. Trusty flashlight in hand, I strolled toward the source of the noise.
I thought you were just tying in scratchies again.
I heard a scratching and a guy go, "Oh,
my balls! Oh, my balls!
Oh, shit! They put that in the manual." That's another T-shirt idea. Just saying.
Scratchies, yeah.
I strolled toward the source of the noise. When I approached the front hall, the scratching just stopped, and absolute silence took its place. My town is not famed for being noisy at night, but this was strange. I wandered around for a short while, and deciding nothing was amiss, I went back to the manager's office. Which is very like a video game guard.
Yeah.
Sense of, I'll investigate.
Zoop! Like
just sort of
point.
Yeah, pace back and forth and be like, clear. And then you they go sit down. I went back to the manager's office. I thought I had left the chair by the desk, but now it was by the door, blocking my entry.
You clearly didn't leave it blocking your entry, or else you wouldn't have got out. Oh, whatever. Sorry.
No, please. Keep shitting on them. They're just trying to provide content for this show. But you go ahead. Put them on blast, Steve.
Dear Internet, whoever wrote this story sucks.
What the fuck? Those are zombies. I wrote it off as my bad memory playing tricks on me again and went back to sleep. I heard a bump soon after. I think it was maybe an hour. It sounded like a car door being slammed. Taco Bell burp. This show brought to you by Taco Bell. Again.
New Taste 'em Twice chalupas. Only at Taco Bell. That's not new.
New it never ends Gordita Crunch.
Yeah, everlasting instead of Gobstopper. Everlasting gorditas.
Everlasting toiletry.
Yeah.
But this was about 1 a.m, so everyone should have been asleep. The noise was not coming from outside the bank. The bumping sped up until it sounded almost like a heartbeat. I'm not a cowardly man, and so I'd like to believe, but on that warm summer night, I was shaking. The heartbeat continued. It sounded like it was in the main hall. I ran in there, and as soon as I stepped foot in the room, the sound stopped again. All sound stopped. A cold sweat ran down my back. I was scared. I shone my flashlight around. Is anyone here? I asked foolishly. Something responded. Yes, we are here. The voice said.
That's all I wanted to know.
Okay,
See you later.
Cool.
Just checking.
All good. Yeah, there's someone in here. Who's we? I asked. And what are you doing here? The bank is closed. The thing chuckled. We are your worst nightmares, and we are here to remind you of this. To remind me that you're my worst. You can't be that good at it. If you're reminding me you're the worst thing I can think of. I just forgot.
In the same breath that you introduce yourself. Yeah. I'm going to do that next time I meet somebody. Be like, hi, I'm Steve, and I'm here to remind you that I'm Steve.
I'm the most evil thing you can think of, but you probably don't remember meeting me.
I'm a security guard at a bank. I meet a lot of evil things. I'm sorry.
The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. Me, personally? The other fucking 12 people here, dude. What?
No, you in general. Oh, thank God. I thought it was personal.
No, we're going to wait for opening hours and then introduce ourselves to everyone.
Wait, are you Darren? This is embarrassing. We're Darren's worst nightmare. Sorry.
Surely this was some prank by a local teenager. Might as well play into
the dark.
To amuse these buggers. Yeah, open fire. But he doesn't have a gun, so he just hurls a flashlight. You just hear, ow!
Ow. Yeah, son of a bitch.
Or maybe it was an escapee from the nearby mental institution. Then I must play into it, or he may flay me.
Yes, because famously that's how.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very extreme take on the mental illness population. Like, well, if I don't agree with they're crazy, they'll skin me alive.
And I'm also kind of thinking that he needs to be fired as a security guard immediately, because if your literal job is to watch a bank at night and somebody's in there and you're like, I better play along. It's no, that's the opposite of what you're...
Step one, if a bank robber shows up, roll with it. Become one of their crew. All humans, the voice replied after a few seconds. You speak as if you're not human, I retorted. It's not really a retort.
Ha ha! I caught you.
Don't you think you might be human yourself? I debated. I feel like this is Narnia on crack. I don't know what that sentence means, but they wrote it.
Yeah, it's nothing like Narnia.
Yeah, it's nothing like crack. I can confirm.
Yeah. Whoever you are out there, author, I suggest you try some crack and go to Narnia.
I did my doctoral research on different drugs while reading Narnia, and you couldn't be more off. Except you don't need to jump into a wardrobe. It's all around already, and there are no good creatures in this dark world. I heard another laugh. We are the monsters that hide in the back of your mind. We are not humans. This unnerved me.
The other stuff was
top tier.
I know. The other stuff he was pretty cool with, but
I was my ass sweated a bit at this. So I shined my flashlight in the voice's direction. The heartbeat started up again as my light revealed a surprisingly normal-looking man.
I do like, too, that he waited to this point to shine his light at it.
Yeah. What are you doing? Like, hitting yourself in the head with the flashlight? Is anyone there?
Maybe if I look scary, I'll put this under my chin. Ha! I am also a monster. Ooh.
I thought my night vision would kick in by now. He was of moderate build and had short brown hair. His back was to me, so I could not see his face. His clothes were patched and frayed around the hems. He slowly turned around, and the sight of his face sent me running back to the manager's office. His face, it was decaying, like food that has gone bad. It's one way to think of a dead body. And it's got fungus all over it.
I stumbled across a corpse in the woods. Kind of looked like food.
It kind of looked like my lunch that I didn't get to finish. Like food that has gone bad, and it's got fungi all over it. Is fungi the singular or fungus? I thought it was fungi plural.
Yeah, I thought fungi was...
We're going with that. We have the podcast, not you. We dictate grammar. The heartbeats sound magnified when he raised his hand. He laughed as a still pumping heart dropped from his hand and landed with a splat on the floor. I stayed in that office until dawn. The man had vanished. As I was about to leave the bank and never look back, something dripped on my shoulder. I put my fingers to the drop and they came back red. I looked up and screamed. A woman was affixed to the ceiling, with her chest ripped open and her heart missing. I left that place immediately. I didn't even wait for the cops, which I would usually do.
That's probably a good plan, because I usually wait for the cops when I come across a dead body, but this time I was out of there.
Yeah,
but if everybody knows that you were working that night and you just take off without calling anyone and they find a dead body, who's going to be the first suspect there?
Totally. Well, it's clear that he busted her chest open with his trusty flashlight.
Your clothes are covered in blood. It dripped on me, I swear.
I mean, we're acting like they would put the clues together. They would just know, like, somebody was dead at a bank and just light the place up.
Again, from our real life stories we've done, they'd look at it and be like, she's affixed to the ceiling and her heart's missing.
Oh my God, she's
probably suicide.
It's funny because South Park, the original seasons of South Park nailed the gun-toting mentality of it's coming right for us.
Right for us, yeah.
And that is definitely what would happen here.
I'm a little confused. Maybe it's a timeline thing. Because it started off people were disappearing and police thought it was a serial killer.
Yeah.
And then I was like, and also there were dead bodies with their hearts ripped out all over the place. It's like, then I'd probably, that's not, which...
And so I think he's setting up that this has been happening around town.
Right, but initially they made it sound like it was mysterious, like people were just vanishing, and it's like... It sounds to me like they're just being slaughtered and found.
Well, fucking Sherlock, who's the suspect then? Because we don't know. The mystery is who is this fucking zombie guy doing this shit.
That's true.
That's you find him, you find our killer.
This guy's talking to the police sketch artist. I'm telling you, he was a man, but he looked like food, kind of.
He looked like my food.
What don't you understand? I don't know how to make it more clear.
I had a pizza bagel. It was kind of like that.
It's covered in fungus or fungi or whichever. It's the plural.
Lost my place. Outstanding. I left that place immediately. I didn't even wait for the cops, which I would usually do, as a brave man. I drove to my secluded cabin. What? What kind of salary are you on? How much do you make as a bank security guard? That's crazy.
I didn't make that much.
I drove to my palatial estate.
So I wasn't guarding a bank, but I was guarding a 33-story government building, and I did not have a secluded cabin in the woods.
I didn't even.
But maybe I'm just bad at
cops.
managing my money. Yeah.
I didn't even wait for the cops when I hopped into my helicopter and went to my private island. Next to no food, barely any water, and now here I am, still writing. Maybe someday you, or whoever you might be, will find this, and will know what has happened. The world's been overrun. I'm sure they know then.
If you've been wondering why there's all these food people who are ripping your hearts out, now you know why.
As I established, this has happened all around the world, but I'm the only one who thought to write it down. The world's been overrun. Perhaps you know this already, but it's over for me. My daughter is now screaming for me to come outside, to save her from the scary people.
I like the idea, too, that he had a wife and daughter, but as soon as he got spooked at his job at the bank, he just took off to a cabin in the woods by himself. Like, fuck them, they're probably dead.
Well, I mean, they don't show it, but he probably killed them.
That's true.
My daughter is now screaming for me to come outside, to save her from the scary people. I know this is a trick. Her blood-curdling scream breaks my heart. But I know my daughter is dead. That can't be her. Can it?
Dun, dun, dun. It's weird because it's like the person couldn't really decide between an apocalyptic zombie story and like this psychological, like...
I think there's an idea there of like...
Yeah.
Of like a mixture of sort of a zombie threat, but this threat can psychologically manipulate you. Which you kind of see touches of in some zombie stuff where there's always like, no, my daughter's still there. It's like she's clearly a fucking zombie.
Yeah, like her head's like in her hands.
Half off, yeah.
Yeah.
So you could, I could see a story there.
My biggest problem is there seems to be a leap for me, like not for us as a reader, because they established in the very beginning that this is like they're outside and the world's gone to shit and whatever.
Yeah.
And then it come back at the end like, yeah, I know the whole world, and they're coming for me and I have no chance. But from the perspective of the protagonist, it's like he runs into one creepy ass being, which was
and he fucked off.
Yeah. But he just like knows that it's a zombie apocalypse. Like,
well, he knows that. I don't think they connected it that well, but I see the connection they were trying, which is like nobody knew what was causing all these like murders or / disappearances. And then like when he experienced that, he was like, oh fuck, it's supernatural.
Yeah,
and only a cabin can save me.
In the writing, it's not connected very well, but even then, it's like a huge like mental leap to be like, and instantly be like, there's all these missing people, and there's this one creepy guy. It's clearly a zombie outbreak, and my wife and daughter are clearly already dead. Like, he makes a whole lot of assumptions right away.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like it could just be like one force of like nature that just uses your loved ones.
Yeah.
And the people around you to try to manipulate you and kill you. So it never actually says like it's not like multiple creatures.
Yeah, I guess that's right. It's not necessarily a horde, and it does clearly state these aren't zombies, even though we were like they are.
Like it's only a horde in the sense like
each person's being stalked by it.
It's a general nightmare.
Yeah.
So it can take as many forms as it needs to.
Which, put that way, I think is a super cool idea. But yeah. I don't think it was established good enough in the story.
But I mean, we talk about this shit all the time with these stories. It's like, this was probably cranked out in like a couple nights,
Yeah, well, if that.
Yeah. Like, it's better, however long it took, it's better than what I would put together, as evidenced by our own show when I brought my own stuff here. It's that thing where it's like it's mostly a writing exercise, but most of the time that we do these stories, well, our big takeaway is like there's actually a pretty neat idea buried in there, even if the story doesn't pull it off all the time.
We've probably talked about that, but one of the biggest things that separates like a hobby writer and like a professional writer, I think a lot of us, and I fall into this trap, you have this idea. I'm just going to use this guy as an example. Say Hemingway sat down and like wrote his novels on the first attempt and was like, here's my novel.
Yeah.
And even the best authors out there write something that gets, it's like, yeah, this is kind of trash, but the idea is good. And the difference is they'll sit and iterate on it for sometimes years, and then they'll be like, here's the final result.
Well, to be fair, I'd say Hemingway, a lot of his shit was like, hey, there's a neat idea there. Could have been 20 pages shorter.
Yeah, he might have been a bad example to use for self-editing.
Yeah.
And don't get me, I actually do like Hemingway, but yeah, it might not have been the best example. Like Stephen King or something would probably be the better example, where it's like he didn't just sit down and write like Pet Sematary. He probably wrote Pet Sematary version 1, and you'd read that and be like, what the fuck is this?
Again, another example where I would say, he might have just sat down and wrote Pet Sematary. That's kind of...
I know, and I don't know why I brought him up other than the horror tie, because I don't particularly like Stephen King's stuff. I like his short stories. I think a lot of his short stories are good. It's
kind of true to the theme of our Creepypasta episodes. I like his ideas. I don't think he's actually... I think his writing's really long-winded. I don't feel like it flows very well for me. So I can count on one hand how many Stephen King books I've actually finished.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I like his. There's one that I actually listened to this one. It was on an audiobook. Bizarre of Nightmares or something like that. Or Bizarre of Something Dreams. But it's a collection of short stories. And when I say short, some of them are still like multiple chapter, but not like full novel length.
Yeah.
And there was some really good stuff in it. And there was some stuff that was kind of meh. I agree with you. I don't particularly... I'm not going to sit here and say his writing style is bad, because he clearly a lot of people really enjoy it.
I would be really worried I offended him on his mountain of money.
Money, yeah. Well, I don't even mean it that way. I just mean it. There's a lot of things out there, and we talk about... I'm famously with movies, because I've got a weird taste in movies. There's a lot of things that people are like, oh, that's great. And I'm like, it's not my thing at all.
Yeah.
So he's one of those where it's like, I don't necessarily like, I'm not going to knock his skills or whatever. Maybe he's good, maybe
it's
he's
like
bad.
anything else, there is like good and bad things in storytelling, but sometimes it's just style, and sometimes style
doesn't mesh with you. Yeah. So yeah, I kind of like the idea of the result is almost a zombie horde outbreak, but it's not. It's more of a supernatural thing that stalks people. Yeah,
like imagine feeling like you're having to like shelter up and shit in the vein of like a zombie apocalypse, but really it's just this like one fucking force of nature that's going to try to come up with, the most nightmarish way to threaten you.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty interesting idea. Like Stephen King's
We're switching you to an 18-hour work day, 7 days a week. No.
It's like, well,
just
imagine
rip my heart out.
Stephen King's It, where you have this monster that can take the form of anything you're afraid of and really paralyze and kill you anytime it wants. But it has these fucking dumbass Stephen King plot rules where it's like, oh, but I only go after kids because they taste better. And also if you bully me, I feel bad. I'm a sensitive universal horror. So I'm saying, like, what if you got rid of some of that shit and it was the end of the world? There's an idea there. But also I kind of had fun just reading this one. It's like, it's definitely full of cliches, but sometimes I just like a cliche.
They didn't almost
story,
shit themselves, so
yeah.
There's that.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a positive or a negative. I'm kind of mad that wasn't in there.
That's true. They didn't quite hit the Creepypasta bingo card, but
I thought it was going there because if it was me writing it, there was that part he said, like, I felt the cold sweat going down my back, and I was thinking in my head, and the warm sweat running down my leg, but they skipped that. This guy, he's got excellent bladder and bowel control.
The next time they do like a contest on the Creepypasta Wiki, I should enter it, and every other, like, After every paragraph, I just say, I almost shit myself.
Shit myself.
And then at the end, it's like, I almost, never mind.
I shit myself.
I need new pants.
I need... Yeah, you can't be as crass as to just say you shit yourself. Just end it on, now I need new pants.
God damn it.
Or I don't think these pants will ever come clean.
It really, like... Think of, like, any horror scenario where you're, like... You're running away from something. And just imagine, like, how much worse it would be if you, like... shit your pants and you're like having to run from that threat like bow-legged. It's just like
I don't want to die, but man, I can't let this touch me.
But it's also fucking, it's so awkward. And the monster just runs by you, like looking at you like, what the fuck?
Like, this is just embarrassing for all of us.
Yeah, this dude just shit his pants.
Like, I don't want any part of that. Like, I'll go kill this other person.
I'm going to go up ahead. You clean up.
Yeah, let me know once you've changed.
Catch up later. Take a shower. I would feel so bad about myself.
They do say it's pretty common to like evacuate your bowels when you die, and I've never seen that in a horror movie. Like, and I don't know, especially since it's been real popular. Especially since like the mid 90s, like the whole like just as gruesome and gory as we can make it. Maybe somebody's done it, but yeah. I don't know if it would add to the gore or almost detract from the scene where the person gets like their head impaled by like a umbrella and then all of a sudden they just shit themselves. Right. But nobody references it. Like it's just...
It would depend how violent it is and what music you played over it. I always wonder if when people die, or they like, what if somebody thought they were going to die, so they shit themselves thinking it was cool because they thought they were going to die. It turns out they made it, but they're just full of shitty pants.
You come to in the ambulance, like they zap you back to life, but
you're squishing.
You're like, oh fuck, why'd you bring me back?
Yeah, I lost control. Thanks, guys, for bringing me back.
I feel real good about myself right now.
It was like, you got shot in the arm. You were never... Okay.
With a BB. Yeah.
So, that's the story this week. That's the show this week. I'm very tired. I don't want to do this anymore today.
Yeah, and there's this plate of, I think it's food I left down here last week, or somebody trying to kill me. One of the two.
Some fungi that looks like a meal I ate.
He's a fun guy. Anyway. Yes.
All right. Remember, get your scratchums.
Scratch 'em, scratch 'ems. Gotta scratch 'em.